to the Dawgs podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
What's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dawgs podcast. Josh All with you guys today with the final piece of the offensive side of the ball conversation with Barry Shuck, staff writer for DawgsByNature.com. Barry was down at the Senior Bowl last week in Mobile, Alabama, watching all the practices, taking in the Senior Bowl, and today we have offensive line prospects, a position that the Browns desperately need to get some talent and some depth and just really start building for not even just the future, but for right now, because Barry makes a good point in here, and I'll kind of give it to you early. He says, no matter what happens this year, you're going to need to have a tackle who's capable of starting at least some games, because either one of or both Jack Conklin and Dawand Jones kind of get hurt every single year. So we need to make sure we've got adequate depth, and it can't be something like James Hudson. So we dive into that conversation. Really cool stuff. Barry's got so much great insight. I love doing these conversations with him. And just a reminder, if you guys are watching this video on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. Just tap the subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. Tap the notification bell while you're at it so you don't miss anything new. We're going to be dropping content like crazy during draft season, prior and free agency season here coming up when the new league year gets started. And there's just so much stuff going on with the Browns right now that you don't want to miss any of it. So tap the notification bell. Subscribe, like the video. If you're listening on audio, 5-star reviews on Apple and Spotify help out the show a ton. And if you want to get into conversations with diehard Browns fans 24/7, seriously, if you are a Browns fan, you're just itching to talk to other Browns fans about, this is what I think the Browns should do, or I have a really good idea, we should make this trade, or look at this prospect, join thedawgs.com. Everybody is in there talking about all this stuff all the time. And we get a lot of great ideas for our content and for our shows, and a lot of good contributions and participation from people in the Discord that is at jointhedawgs.com through the Patreon. So make sure you guys go sign up there. It's only like $5 a month to join at the bottom level, which, you know, really all the levels are kind of the same. It's just how much would you like to help support the show? It helps us out a ton. We appreciate it so much, and it gives us the opportunity to continue to grow the show and keep doing what we're doing, because we're an independent podcast. We run everything on our own and we do it all ourselves. So your support means a ton, and it helps keep things growing. So join thedawgs.com if you're interested in that. So let's dive into this final conversation with Barry Shuck on the offensive side of the ball, talking about offensive lineman prospects from the Senior Bowl. So Barry, offensive line at the Senior Bowl for the Browns, that kind of stuff. Who are some of the names that stood out? Because I got to admit up front, obviously, I'm not an offensive line guru. I never played the position. I don't scout the position very well. I like the flashy stuff. I like quarterbacks and running backs and wide receivers, all that kind of stuff. But we need some offensive line depth badly for the Browns. We talked about a lot on the show how, 4 of the 5 starters are pretty much locked in. I mean, they're under contract. They're not going anywhere unless we trade somebody or Batonio retires. But then we've got Zinter anyway sitting there, and they've already said Dawand Jones, they expect him to be the starting left tackle, all that good stuff. But it doesn't mean we can't add to that room, which I think we need to do. So go ahead and kick it off and tell me who you want to start talking about with the offensive line.
Yeah, and in fact, before Myles Garrett came up and said that he wanted to be traded, which I believe he will, I would have preferred with our number 2 pick for us to trade down to like 6 or 7 and grab either the Texas offensive line or the LSU offensive lineman, Will Campbell. I would love to take an offensive tackle in the first round, because here's what we got going as far as the Browns go. We got Jack Conklin on the right side. We got Dawand Jones on the left side. We got James Hudson as their swing tackle in the backup. We know James Hudson is a liability. We know he's a problem. We know if they keep Jed Wills, he's a liability. So we got 2 backups that are not going to play well, that haven't played well. And we've got 2 starters that are constantly getting hurt. So you got to draft a guy, and you got to bring him in with the idea that he is going to start at some point in the 2025 season. It's just inevitable. Jack Conklin gets hurt. DeJuan Jones gets hurt. So you got to bring in a guy who was probably the most talked about at the Senior Bowl was Gray Zabel of North Dakota State. He's 6'6", 305. He's from a small school, but North Dakota State, if you don't know anything about them, they won the FBS National Championship. And North Dakota State, like Wisconsin, like Iowa, like Michigan, and like Washington, they send to the NFL offensive linemen, good offensive linemen. He is a plus leverage player who works consistently under the defender's pads. And he's got advanced spatial awareness in the run game. He's excellent at sealing backside pursuit. He's a really good pass rusher. I would say his specialty, though, is in the run game and run blocking. That's what North Dakota State does. Is they're a blocking team. He's got Zabel's got heavy hands with a snap delivery on initial punt. And he's got what I would call violent hands.
Yeah.
And that means that he's able to use them on defenders and able to push them off. He got loose hips and quick twitch. And those are two things that an offensive tackle would desperately. But he came from nowhere in the Senior Bowl. I didn't even know who he was. And once people started talking about him, I started watching him and then ended up doing an interview with him. Nice guy. Got a good head on his shoulders, and he's a guy I think that week one he could start.
That's kind of the sentiment I've been hearing too about Gray Zabel, and he's definitely a dude who's rising quickly up the draft board. So he would be a great get for the Browns at that tackle position. Were there who's another name or whatever at the tackle position that you thought stood out?
Okay, in the second round with the first pick. If the Browns don't pick Hampton as the running back, which I suggest, this is the guy that I would take. His name is, I'm going to struggle with his first name. His last name is Ersery, and he played for Minnesota, Aireontae. And he's 6'6", 330. This guy is phenomenal. This guy is a phenomenal pass blocker. I would love to have this guy. He will most likely be the third tackle taken. He could go late first. That first pick in the second round, the Browns took him. I would absolutely. He's got an imposing frame. He has got the ideal NFL tackle size, being 330 pounds. He's got the length and the bulk to handle pass rushers effectively. He was able to handle. There were two guys in this draft, Mike Green of Marshall, and then Shamar Stewart, who were great off the snap, great first step, and nobody can handle them except for Gray Zabel and Ersery. They were able to not stop these guys, but what they were able to do is at least get their paw on them and able to push them and start pushing them deeper and deeper before you knew it, they were deep enough into the pocket where they were out on its way. This guy can do that. He had great lateral agility for his size, and that allowed him to reach the second level and reach these guys that were speed rushers that had this great first step.
Those are good names to keep an eye on for the Browns. Definitely, we, like you said, got to shore up that tackle position because it's just iffy on both sides, no matter how you dice it up. Any other tackles at the Senior Bowl, or were there some offensive guards or centers, guys that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, this guy is from Arizona. His name is Jonah. I think he could be a guard prospect. He's 6'5", 336, a junior coming out of Arizona. He's Somalian, so he's a big guy. You know, he's got the hair. They all do. And but he looks like he could be a guard prospect. He played tackle. He played left tackle at Arizona. He's really quick out of his stance, which what that meant was he was able to match the pass rusher as far as the depth goes effectively. He's got impressive lateral agility and quick footwork. offensive tackles have to have quick footwork. By the way, I've asked every offensive lineman, what is the difference between right side and left side? And all of them had told me to where you put your foot. And what that means, if you're on, put your left foot back. If you're on the right side, you put your right foot. One guy told me, if you've been on one side, most of your high school and college career, it can get a little confusing when you're on the other side. He said, but after a while, you get it pretty. So don't think that just because a guy has been playing on one side and you call him a right tackle or a right guard, that they can't be switched over. The only difference is if they have to play center. Center's a different animal altogether. But the guy has played a left tackle in college. He's excellent pass protector. Good hamstring, strong as he can be. He's versatile. He can play both guard and tackle. In fact, the first day they had him at guard, second day they had him at tackle, his natural position. He does offer some some scheme flexibility, and he's just got a massive frame. Great guy, jovial guy. I can tell he'll be the team joker. But I think that he would provide the Browns with a powerful blocking presence.
Well, we definitely need that. Like I said, starting out, the starting positions, okay, they're kind of set if everybody's healthy and nobody retires. But man, the backups, the depth, the future of the offensive line is in question big time. So we definitely need to make sure we're getting guys in here who can fill those roles. And how did you say it's Savaiinaea?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So another name that if the Browns draft, we'll have to learn how to pronounce correctly, and we will. But it's a name to keep an eye on. And he's
and have enough letters for the nameplate.
Yeah, that's true. Enough vowels, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So Beta Villa of Tampa Bay, the defensive tackle, he's Polynesian, and they're all just big body. They've all got huge calves, huge thighs, huge frames, huge hair, and they give. I didn't know this, but there is a Polynesian nation. They give an award out to the Polynesian Player of the Year, and he was a semifinalist for that.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you're right. They when they did up the character Maui in Moana, I think they nailed it, because you're right. They are all big dudes and strong dudes for sure. This episode is brought to you by Danger Coffee. Browns fans, we talk about how Danger Coffee is made free from mold toxins that are in 45% of the world's coffee, but that's not all that Danger Coffee has to offer. Mineral and nutrient deficiencies are a big deal. They make you feel sick, tired, stressed, and they can give you brain fog. These deficiencies negatively affect your immune system, your digestion, sleep, metabolism. Have you ever wondered why you get an initial burst from your coffee, but then you get that little crash not long after? Danger Coffee's patent-pending process remineralizes your body with more than 50 trace minerals and electrolytes, leaving you more energized, engaged, powerful. These micronutrients enter the cells to boost performance. They bind to toxins to provide detoxification support. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bottom line, guys, is minerals matter, and most of us really don't get enough of them on a daily basis. Danger Coffee delivers micronutrients, plus it gives you access to the minerals you already have. Head to dangercoffee.com, use our code DAWGS, DAWGS, for 10% off your order, and that code can be used over and over, so you get 10% off every order you make using code DAWGS. It's time to start every day off with a cup of coffee that gets you going and actually keeps you going. dangercoffee.com, code DAWGS. Okay, so that's Zabel, Ersery, Savaiinaea. Anybody else on that offensive line that you think stood out that the Browns could grab that would help this team?
Well, those are guys that for the first 3 rounds that focused on. You can get guys late, like Wyatt Teller was a 4th, 5th rounder.
I think he was 5th.
So there are guys, and a lot of guys get taken. Batonio wasn't a first rounder, so don't think just because we don't get a guy in the first round. I mean, Jed Wills was a first round, and look at that. We're we look like we're going to get rid of him.
Oh, yeah. Yep. We talk about that a lot about everybody clamors for these first round picks, and that's just kind of Browns fans. That's what we've done for decades is the first round picks. And then I keep telling people, the last 2 first round picks the Browns have had are guys that a lot of fans want off the team, and that's Jed Wills, and a lot of people don't like Greg Newsome either. So it's just because we got a first round pick does not mean it's going to be a home run hit. Not everybody is a hit in each round, obviously. So we just got to be smart with our picks. We've got 12 freaking draft picks in this draft, and that's before we do any trading or any more, asset collecting, which is insane. So there's obviously room to move around, package deals and things like that to move up to get a guy. So, we'll see what they end up doing. You gave us a lot of great names for the Browns at that pick 33 that are very interesting to me, and across all the positions, offensive line, we did tight end, wide receiver, running backs, and of course we started with the quarterback position on the offensive side of the ball. So if anybody listening, watching wants to go back, check out those names. It's all out here on YouTube or Spotify, Apple, wherever you're watching, listening, and you can check all that stuff out. We'll clip everybody, put all the segments out there so you guys can watch them quickly and learn about these players, because like I've said before, the names that Barry Shuck comes back from the Senior Bowl, these are guys that end up, he's right about. They end up making an impact for the teams that draft them, and unfortunately, the Browns pass on some of them a little more often than I would like to see, because you see these guys go on to have success for other teams, and it's like, man, we could have grabbed that guy.
Yeah, well, they took DeJuan Jones, and he was at the Senior Bowl for one day, and then went home, but he was projected to be a third-round pick, and then the Browns took him in the 4th. One thing you should know about the Senior Bowl, last year, 10 guys in the first round were taken that played in the Senior Bowl. 10. That's a third of the first round. 12 guys in the second round were taken. 34% of the entire draft played in the Senior Bowl last year. We're talking about guys like Tiki Barber, Dan Marino, Brett Favre, Walter Payton, Dick Butkus, Jalen Hurts. All of these guys played in the Senior Bowl. And the reason for it, if you're top 15, you do not accept a Senior Bowl invitation, because all you can do is lose standing and your draft stock will fall. But if you're anywhere else, if you have a great week in the Senior Bowl and you're playing against other great players, then your stock goes up. Jalen Hurts went from a third rounder to a second rounder. And that happens just continually in the game. So that's what this game is about. It's about improving your draft stock. It's about practicing and going up against, if you're a receiver, you're going against some of the best cornerbacks in the nation. And if you can beat them, it proves that you don't deserve to be a third rounder. You deserve to be a second rounder. And what does that mean?
More money.
Means a better contract.
That's right.
Means a much better contract.
Yeah, the Senior Bowl, I feel like there are still people out there who look at it like, oh, it's just, one of these hokey all-star games or whatever. But this is a serious, event. Like you said, a vast majority of those first few rounds are Senior Bowl guys, and they come here, they show out, they improve their draft stock. And, I've been listening to a lot of stuff about the Senior Bowl, not to go too far off, on a tangent, but it's just a lot of times in these college offenses, wide receivers, for example, can get relegated to a specific role in a specific, off gimmicky offense or whatever. And it's like, oh, well, this guy is strictly a one route kind of guy. And then he comes to the Senior Bowl to show, no, that's just the way they used me. I can run every route. I can make players miss. I can make every catch. I will show you what I can do if given the opportunity. And it is a great opportunity for these guys to show that, display that, and kind of rewrite some of the narratives about themselves that they've gotten throughout their college career.
Yeah, absolutely. Tim Tebow played in this game. He was projected to be a third round. He went in the first round to the Broncos. It works. Yeah. As long as you show what you can do against great players that are here. Now you take like Jalen Milroe, he'll probably drop from a second to a third to a fourth because he had a bad time, and that's just because of his performance at the Senior Bowl. And that happens a lot too. Malik Willis, was here a couple of years ago. He was projected late first round, had a bad week, taken in the third round by the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, so it can work both ways for these guys, but it's a humongous job interview for these college kids coming out and making their, really their last on-field statement in a game situation for their NFL
and
draft
it's
stock.
Amazing. They not only, every team is here. Not only do you see every head coach, you see all the scouts, you see player personnel, people that are in the front office of teams here. You see every general manager. Last year, I was able to talk to Andrew Barry. You see all these guys. There was 900 people and about 1,100 media people that descend from Mobile, Alabama, just to watch the Senior Bowl. And then look at all the players that are here. Look at all the named quarterbacks they had this year. It's just absolutely amazing. One of the few exceptions that I've seen at a past Senior Bowl was Von Miller. He was projected to be the 10th player. He went second overall. And then Justin Herbert played in this game. He was projected to be somewhere around 15. He ended up going in the top 10. He played in the Senior Bowl. So it's an opportunity to play against great players and try to improve your draft stock, which means that the first contract is better versus being less.
Yeah. The Senior Bowl is definitely a big deal. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into these episodes from Barry Shuck. Thank you, Barry Shuck. You are awesome. You come back with such great intel, insight, everything from the Senior Bowl. And, these prospects, I mentioned it several times on these episodes, but a lot of these guys that Barry comes back talking about go on to have very productive first years, if not, a lot of them do the first year, but at least by the second year, these guys are contributing in a solid way for their NFL teams. And, the Browns, they're heavily invested in these events. They've got people there. Bubba Ventrone was the coach of one of the teams in the Senior Bowl. So we got a lot of good hands-on intelligence about these players. So follow the names. Make sure you guys, if you missed any of these episodes, go back. Of course, you don't want to miss the quarterbacks episode. Talked about a lot of good names there. Running backs, wide receivers, tight ends was the second one. Go check that one out. And of course, we just finished up offensive linemen. Just to give you guys a heads up, the plan is to sit down with Barry again next week. I don't know by the time this one comes out. It might even be this week. But we're going to talk about the defensive side of the ball, and there were a lot of good players there. This draft, I've said it a lot before. I'll say it again real quick before we wrap. This draft is very, very deep at most of the positions the Browns need. They need running back. This draft is the deepest at running back maybe I've ever seen. They need offensive line. This is a very deep offensive line class. They need tight end. This is a super deep tight end class. It really is. There's a lot of good names, and we only talked about a few on our episode with Barry, but there are other guys that we'll talk about throughout the process here that we're really high on. We need a defensive line. There's a lot of defensive line guys, and obviously we always grab some sort of cornerback or secondary player anyway. So the position that is not deep that the Browns need more than anything is quarterback, which is why we still hold the stance of take one at 2 and see what happens, because you just have to keep swinging if you're ever going to get it right. Taking a shot and getting it wrong is the same as not taking a shot and not having a quarterback anyway, right? So at least with one of those directions, you have the chance of getting it right. If you just pass on the position completely and say, we'll worry about it later, well, now you guarantee that you didn't get one because you didn't even try to take one. That's kind of where we stand on the situation right now, but let me know what you guys think in the comments about all of these players that we've gone over with Barry Shuck. Great conversations. And again, if you're watching this on YouTube, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tap that notification bell. 5-star reviews on Apple and Spotify, and make sure you go to jointhedawgs.com to join the 24/7 conversation with the Dog Pack. It is draft season, and we are in there all the time talking about all kinds of things. And we say it all the time. It's not just Browns either. Like, we're in there talking Cavs, we're talking college football, we talk baseball when the Guardians are playing or whatever team you're rooting for. We talk, they have UFC talks in there. They talk about grilling things, what they like to drink, bourbons and whiskeys and beers and things. It's a great time, great group of people. So if you're interested, like I said before, $5 a month, It's really not a huge investment to get in there and at least even see if if you like it. If you've been interested in joining, give it a try. You can always cancel, if you don't like it. We hope you don't, but if you do, hey, no harm, no foul. We appreciate the support either way. So thanks again for everybody tuning in. Thanks again to Barry Shuck. And we will be back with you guys on future episodes with Barry, breaking down the defensive side of the ball. And until then, let's go Browns.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dawgs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedawgspodcast.com.
This episode is brought to you by Baden Sports. Browns fans, Baden Sports is your one-stop shop for all your athletic gear. Baden started out perfecting and manufacturing the best balls in the business. Yeah, if that sounded dirty, that's more about your mind than my words. But hey, it's true. Baseballs, softballs, footballs, basketballs, volleyballs, soccer balls, you name it, and Baden has engineered the highest standard sports balls available. And now they offer more than just sports balls. If you got kids playing baseball or softball, Baden has batting gloves and bats to go along with both game balls and training balls. If you're into basketball, Baden makes basketball specifically for indoor or outdoor use. Heck, Baden even has all the equipment you need for pickleball, which is one sport that I hear everyone is playing and yet I still never have. And I need to fix that soon. But don't miss the backyard games section of Baden's website where you can order everything you need for this upcoming outdoor season. Pool balls, backyard volleyball nets, croquet, bocce, horseshoes, cornhole, and more. Right now, you can get 10% off your entire order at Baden Sports, BADEN Sports.com/dogs, DAWGS, and use promo code DAWGS when you check out. That's 10% off all the top quality sporting gear you need this season. BadenSports.com/dogs.